Good evening. Welcome to News Night. This is a live broadcast from our studios here at Northridge in Accra. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Here are stories making headlines tonight. Upper West Regional Police arrest 18 suspects in connection with the recent murder of some residents in Wa. The fate of over 200 Ghanaian medical students trained in Ukraine hangs in the balance as the Medical and Dental Council rejects their certificates. Coming up in business, the IMF team begins meeting with government officials over a bailout package aimed at dealing with the current economic challenges. And later, we take you to Uganda, where trainee medics battling Ebola in that country's virus epicenter strike over safety concerns. Details plus sports and entertainment are coming up shortly. Stay with us. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Now, the Upper West Regional Police Command has arrested a total of 18 persons so far in connection with the killing of 11 persons by unknown men in Wa, the regional capital. Now, confirming the arrest, a principal state attorney at the Upper West Regional Office of the Attorney General's Department, Said Abdul Shahouk, disclosed that 8 of the suspects have been granted bail by the Wa Circuit Court. Now, the remaining 10 have been remanded in police custody for further investigations into the killings that occurred in Wa in the last 9 months. I've been joined on the telephone lines by Said Abdul, a principal state attorney at the Upper West Regional Office of the Attorney General's Department for the latest. Said, good evening. Welcome to News Night in Accra. Now, can you tell us how and when these arrests were made?
Having me. They were arrested at various places by one, the society itself arrested some. That's a search team arrested 3 people, and the police arrested the rest. That's about 15. The police arrest was as a result of intelligence gathered on these people on various locations were cordoned off and searches conducted, and the police eventually arrested these 15 people. And the 15 plus the 3 that was arrested by the local community adds up to the 18 people that are arrested.
Right, and we understand that out of this number, only 10 persons have been remanded. Why?
Yes, the police took them through a very thorough interrogation processes. Plus the things that were found or evidences that are linking the various persons, and all of them were treated on individual basis because all of them were arrested individually, depending on the connection that they can establish. Even if it is tenuous or slight, the police still beg the court to keep them, for the police to continue to investigate and interrogate them to unravel what is happening in the society. And those that were released, these 8 people were thoroughly, they were not linked, like you couldn't link them immediately to what is happening by what was available. And the evidence so far put before the court was so clear that you couldn't continue to hold them and deprive them of their liberty, whilst in actual fact there was no connection whatsoever. That is why the court admitted them to bail.
Right, and when will these persons be arraigned before the court of law?
The 10 that were not released were arraigned before the court and remanded. But the 3, depending on what comes up, the 8, depending on what comes up in further investigation, because they will continuously report to the police for further investigation. If the police are able to turn anything up that connects them, then we will go to court and ask for the court to then properly put them in custody. For now, there's nothing connecting them. So that is why the court admitted them to bail.
Right. Are you picking any indication that there could be more suspects in this case?
That is so. That is so. You see, the case is still wide open. The case is still wide open. And so there could be more suspects. And interestingly, I think the intelligence is coming in fast and quick. And people are cooperating. People are volunteering information. And thankfully, the reinforced police contingent in Wa is not leaving anything to chance. The slightest information they get, they are able to follow through on it. And that I believe that more people will be reined in.
Right. Saeed Abdul, grateful for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
Right. In other stories tonight, a psychiatric practitioner, Dr. Philip Oforiyentunmi, believes the recent ritual killings in the country is to some extent a psychological issue. According to him, a society that appears to place more value on wealth over worth is likely to experience these incidents. He therefore advised that the laws deal with perpetrators of the act.
Killings have been on the rise in the country. This trend, many believe, is to a large extent motivated by the motive to get rich or die trying. Key among these cases is the murder of a female nursing trainee at Mankesim by a chief and a pastor who are currently in custody. The Wa municipality for some time now has also recorded incidents of human killings and body parts removed under bizarre circumstances, a situation that has caused fear and panic among residents. Psychiatric practitioner Dr. Philip Oforiyentunmi believes the trend is a cause for worry.
When we live in a society where people value wealth, how much people have, how many cars you drive, how many houses, how much money, right? Over the worth, the value of them, the moral, the ethics of them, then we'll continue to have a problem in our society, because then everyone wants to be as the people that are being glorified. Then we will continue to have the problem of these things happen, because it affects us psychologically, that if this is the measure, if this is the standard, then we all have to reach it. We have to make a conscious effort to show that we are promoting more of the worth of the individuals in our society than the wealth of those individuals in our society.
He advised people to be content with what they have.
Let us continue to be happy. Happiness is from within. You can be among a crowd and still be lonely. So let us create our own happiness, our safe spot, and let's not equate material things to happiness, because you continue to acquire and still not be happy. So be content, and also having good moral and ethical standards will help us to be able to curb this. I'll also add that our laws have to be working, our authorities have to be up to the task, and we as a society also have a role to play.
He also urged the media to stop the advertisement of money rituals on their platforms, as it has the tendency of encouraging the youth to venture into such acts. Reporting for Metro News, Rosemary Anyimba, Accra.
Now, in other stories tonight, Chief of Seshi Olubo, his brother, and two others have been granted bail of 100,000 Ghana cedis each with two sureties. The suspects have been charged with 2 counts: conspiracy to commit a crime, to rate mining, and mining without a license. Chief of Seshi Elubo, Nana Anini Bafo, and his brother, Kojo Afi, were arrested following an investigation into a video circulating on social media showing illegal mining activities in some rooms and compound houses in the town. They were arrested on September 16, 2022 at Seshi Elubo and charged with 2 counts. 1, conspiracy to commit a crime, to wit mining, and 2, mining without a license. On September 17th, the police released a statement disclosing that one of the affected houses led to the bedroom of the chief's brother, while 4 other deep dug-out pits were uncovered by the police in other houses in the same vicinity. When the suspects appeared in court on September 19th, they were remanded in custody and set to reappear on September 26th, 2022. On Monday, the Seshiyosu Magistrate Court, presided over by His Worship Lawrence Buenobue, granting them bail of 100,000 Ghana cedis each with two sureties. They're expected to reappear before the court on 11th October 2022. Right, and 4 persons have been remanded by the Wutu Breku District Court over a recent attack on the Asafohene of Gomwa Twanso, Nana Ahmed, who sustained machete wounds in a suspected land guard attack on Saturday.
On Saturday, the Asafohene of Gomwa Twansa was attacked by some persons suspected to be land guards. Narrating the incident to Metro News, Nana Ahmed said he had personally led the police to arrest some suspected land guards at the area a day before the incident and had decided to revisit the area for updates on happenings only to be attacked.
Nti nana no munsase no menso me ya Asafohene nti nana munsase no eyandra me de police fo bi koya arrest nti no anope na me se me kwa akofa so ahwe se omo ye adwuma na se omo ejai on my way coming na me hu se ya kojoku no boys ni bi.
I am an Asafohene. I went to the lands to monitor activities after the arrest, only for me to meet this cruelty from Kojo Oko's boys. I had to save myself from the machete thrown at me with my hand.
Four persons were later picked up by the police and arraigned before court on Monday, September 26, 2022. The court presided over by Naomi Kunto remanded the 4 suspects who are believed to have taken part in the attack. Even though counsel for the accused persons argued his clients were innocent, the court, upon hearing the prosecution statement, handed Ebusiapeni Kwame Mensah, Kwabena Ahen, Kwabiru Balobe, and Louis Boaten a 2-week remand term. They are expected to reappear in court on October 10, 2022.
Let's shift our focus to health as the fate of Ukraine-trained Ghanaian medical students now hangs in the balance as the Medical and Dental Council has rejected their certificates. The trainees were forced to return to Ghana following the war between Ukraine and Russia. In an interview with Metro News, Registrar of the Ghana Medical and Dental Council says it does not recognize the certificate and the students must seek in-person training physically in order to be inducted.
The Medical and Dental Council of Ghana says it will no longer recognize certificates issued by medical schools in Ukraine, as some schools have resorted in studying online. According to the council, such platforms fall short of the required training process.
And how do you expect students who have just run away from situations of war to be able to know, what they want to do and all that? Besides, the Ghana government has tried organizing the students to come and integrate them into the system. Some students went back to write their exams to try to integrate into the Ghanaian medical system.
According to the council's registrar, Dr. Divine Banyubala, his outfit would not compromise.
Any student purporting to come continuing their medical education in Ukraine online, those certificates forthwith will not be registrable. So if you came from Ukraine yesterday and with a certificate to tell us that you finished your medical school there, it's not possible to do clinical medicine online. It's just simply not possible because medicine is an apprenticeship.
It is urging students who studied medicine and dentistry in Ukraine to take advantage of government's intervention to continue their training right here in Ghana.
A committee was set up as far back as March. The committee worked through April, May, June, July, August, and September. Those students who indicated their willingness to continue here and were adjudged by Ghana Tertiary Education Commission as being eligible to continue here, we took measures and we examined them to be able to see their level so that they can be assisted and placed.
In 2019, for instance, a total of 157 out of 225 foreign trained Ghanaian doctors who sat for the Medical and Dental Council MDC's examination failed only 68, representing a 30.2% pass the exam.
Right, and this is obviously a very disturbing story, and I've been joined on phone by the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayo, for a conversation. Dr. Bayo, grateful for your time this evening. Do you agree with the position of the Medical and Dental Council not to recognize the certificates of these students?
Forms fall short of the required training process.
And how?
These students have been given enough opportunity, and those who have certificates have availed themselves to the opportunity to take a placement exam that will see where they can be placed within our medical schools here to manage the situation that we find ourselves in, something that we all did not expect. So I think the needful thing has been done. Those who have not used that opportunity and those who are doing suspicious courses, medicine cannot be done online. It is not possible anywhere in the world. So if you do not have transcripts to prove and you say you are doing your course, you want to be allowed to write our exam, I think we must all applaud the Medical and Dental Council for the role playing to safeguard the safety of the public.
Right, you have mentioned that they were given a series of opportunities to register and become medical practitioners. It looks like some of them did not get the memo. Why does it happen to be the case?
So I think we need to get the message corrected, or the impression corrected. They are not registering to become medical practitioners. They are not people who have completed medical education and are qualified to write the licensing exam. Licensing exam that the Medical and Dental Council offers to foreign trained medical doctors is a different from what we are describing here. These students who were still in school, whose schooling was disturbed by war, and they come together with the aspect of education, the deans of all the medical schools in Ghana, and said, how do we help our countrymen who are stranded? Let's give them an opportunity. They are in different levels of medical school. Come, register. Let's do a placement test to see what level you are in, and then attach you to another medical school in Ghana here. So if you're in level 200 and you write a level 200 exam and you qualify, they send you to a level 200 in another medical school in Ghana. Of the 7 medical schools, both private and public, they all participated to help place these people. Some of them refused to use the opportunity. Some, that means they don't want to be placed in the medical schools here. You are at liberty then to go to medical school wherever you want in the world. But to say that you have done your medicine online, and I think that is the emphasis of the Medical and Dental Council. No practical lessons are taking place in Ukraine. So if you say you are participating in medical education online anywhere in the world, and you want to come and write our exam here, I think it is not going to augur well for public safety. Nigeria has banned it, and no other country will allow that. So if you want to still be a doctor, use the opportunity that has been availed to you, or if you want to go to a medical school anywhere else in the world, go to a medical school where you can have practical sessions with patients. Medical training can never be done online. And I think that is the import of the directive from the Medical and Dental Council, which the Medical Association supports fully.
Right. And are there any more options for these students to pursue?
Well, so for those who have done the placement exam, they are going into our public and private medical schools for them to continue their education, depending on the level that they were at in Ukraine and how they perform in this placement exam. Those who have refused to take this avenue or this opportunity have the option of applying for regular medical schools to start here or anywhere else in the world where the training is in an accredited institution. And when that training can be verified, you can come back and write our national licensing exam so that you are licensed to practice. But definitely not an online course anywhere in the world.
Right. Dr. Titus Bayu, thank you very much for your time this evening. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, speaking to us, making it emphatic that there is no way that they can become medical practitioners by going to classes online. We'll try to get the ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Kwabena Minta Kando, to also pick his view on this particular issue. What does he think? Does he agree with the Dental Council? Does he also agree with the Ghana Medical Association that they will not allow the students trained in Ukraine having to come back to Ghana due to the war between Ukraine and Russia, and now they've taken online courses to become medical practitioners, but they say no, there is no way that you can become a medical practitioner by taking courses online. We are still trying to connect with him on the telephone lines to explain to us. You're still watching Newsnight here on Metro Television. You can follow the conversation on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Metro TV Ghana. I understand we're not getting him on the line, but in the meantime, need to make an urgent call, but you realize you don't have credit, or your very important conversation was cut short because you ran out of airtime. Cut the stress, because all you have to do on MTN is dial *506# and you get to borrow credit on MTN Extreme. The best part is you can also borrow data by dialing the same number, that is *506#, and you can bundle data whenever you run out. Continue browsing as always. Your conversations don't need to end. Borrow extra time now and enjoy the things you love on your favorite network, MTN. This is Newsnight on Metro Television. We'll go for our first break. We'll be back with more. Hello again. Residents in the Menyakrobo municipality of the Eastern region have taken to the streets in protest against government's failure to fix the roads in their area. Passengers are left stranded as drivers operating from Somenya to Akuse, Akuse to Esuchare, and Osuem have parked their cars to express their displeasure. The enraged residents, including drivers and commuters, said they could not sit unconcerned while dusty roads, riddled and deep potholes and erosion take a toll on their health. Some of the protesters called on the government to, without delay, deploy contractors to fix their roads. They expressed disappointment in the government for failing to fix deplorable roads in the area as promised.
Our problem is, we say the youth, we are not criminals. We are not hooligans. Look at the road to the bank. If we are criminals, like this bank could have been robbed by this long time ago, but we are not like that. So they should come and fix the road for us.
From Akuse to Asuchare, and then from Asuchare to Aveyime, from Asuchare to Asuchare Junction, we are suffering. We are suffering. We have several companies here that are not doing anything. We have several mines that they are also doing anything for us.
Passengers are left stranded as drivers operating from Somenya to Akuse, Akuse to Asuchare, and Osuem have packed their cars to join in the protest. According to the protesters, the deplorable roads in the area are negatively affecting the local economy and driving away investors.
We have police station here. If we were having fire service, finally they took it off. What at all have we done? What crime have citizens of Akuse committed? We are tired.
Continue to demonstrate.
The next we are going to block all the major roads. That means Greco, prisons, hospitals, to Akuse Township.
Commercial bank. Everything has become politics. Politicking everything. As it stands now, look at our road. It's manhole. And we have so many companies on Akuse. We have Seinfeld. We have Golden Exotic. We have everything. VR. The next demonstration will be against VR. Because social amenities we have been neglected. Yes. As it stands now, we have a hydro plant on our land, but look at our roads.
They lament the main road from Akuse to Asuchare is completely cut off after a downpour, making it impossible for vehicles to ply. They claimed due to the nature of the poor road network, the spare parts they use on their cars do not last long.
Minister!
Right, the concerned youth of the NDC in Ada East are angry at what they say are attempts by former DC and some MPs in the Greater Accra region to inflate tension over the redevelopment of the Songo Lagoon project. The group wants leadership of the party to come out and deny any involvement in the confusion around the project. Clarification on some publications suggesting that a former DC, Rex Wusa, is encouraging disturbances over the leasing of salt mines to Electrochem Ghana Limited. Though the Tema Regional Police Command has called feuding parties to smoke the peace pipe, media reports suggested the former DC is allegedly asking the people to ignore the police. This, the concerned NDC youth in Ada East say, is unfortunate, as it paints the picture that the NDC in the Sege constituency is behind the unfortunate disturbances around the Songo Lagoon project. The youth therefore called on the leadership of the party to come out to either deny the claims or they will stop campaigning for the party in the constituency.
We don't want to believe have an issue in addressing some of these things, because right from the inception of Electrochem Ghana Limited, these accusations have lingered over time, and we think the opportunity given all parties at Tema just exactly a week ago was the best opportunity for all of us to come down and find solutions to the happenings around the Songo area. But waking up to the news that an NDC person is behind the happening is what has called for concern. And that is why we are using your media or your medium to reach out to all NDC rank and file, starting from our constituency to the region, to the National NDC Secretariat, for them to come out with a statement to clear the name of the NDC from the happenings around the Songo area.
The party insists the unfortunate incidents in the area is making the party unpopular.
What we believe in as NDC members or as party faithfuls, we believe in development, number one, and we believe that is the stand of the NDC party. Now, one person's actions can greatly affect the party, and that is our cry. Because for the past many years around Sege, if you are an NDC person, sometimes it's difficult to even walk with your chest high, because this area is supposed to be an NDC World Bank. Today, it is less than even what we can describe as a rural bank, because nothing is happening. There used to be a gap between NDC and NPP in the Sege constituency, about 10,000 difference. Today, we are experiencing a gap of less than 2,000. We have 1,782 as the gap. And we believe that a little effort by the NPP is going to change the fortunes of the NDC in the Sege constituency, especially the parliamentary seat. And that is why we think and believe that actions such as this, if they remain like this, or if they remain unattended to, is going to cost the party a fortune in the coming election.
Now, some Guineans have justified the heckling of President Akufo-Addo when he mounted the stage to deliver an address at the Global Citizen Festival on Saturday here in Accra. According to them, the event was the best avenue for them as citizens to vent their anger on the government.
This act got lots of tongues wagging. Many people, including political analyst Jonathan Asante-Ochre, says it paints a gloomy picture of the NPP's quest to break the eight.
The point is that it is not every Ghanaian that has the opportunity to express and vent his or her spleen when the opportunities are not available. Now, this is a neutral platform, a UN program for that matter, and you have something like that's what's happening. What that tells you is that, look, you have very unpopular policies that the government has churned out. Many citizens are unhappy with the policies and the effect that these things are having on their livelihood and so on and so forth.
But what warranted the heckling? Are Ghanaians tired of President Akufo-Addo's government?
It's right. It's right to boo him. I think they are tired of the president. Because of his decisions now, and because of the cost of things in the country now. And things are very high, especially the transport and the also lack of jobs and other stuffs.
We are fighting like we are like, no, this president is not doing this right, you understand? But if John Mahama or any other president comes, that's the same thing will happen. So it's about time, we let go of all these people and we find someone with a better vision or something to help us. Because if Mahama comes, it will be the same thing. It's not going to help us too.
There are no jobs and the youth are suffering. It is good the president was booed. That is the only language he might understand.
I think say you're born away no.
Meanwhile, the governing New Patriotic Party has accused the National Democratic Congress of orchestrating the heckling of President Akufo-Addo at the event. In a statement, Deputy Director of Communications Ernest Osubempa-Bonsu said the NDC intentionally sponsored the heckling for political scores. Osubempa, however, indicated that the president was not surprised by the reaction, considering the current economic crisis. Shadrach Odami Ejari, Metro News.
Executive Secretary for the Right to Information Commission, Yao Sapon-Boateng, has called on institutions to cooperate with the public and readily provide information on request. This, he says, will engender public trust and create a system of transparency and accountability at all public institutions.
Over 2 decades of considerable legislative tussles and exhaustive political scrutiny, Ghana's Right to Information RTI Bill was passed on March 26, 2019 by the country's parliament. President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo subsequently assented it into law on May 21, 2019, with much expectation and enthusiasm from the people of Ghana. Following the passage, journalists and council society organizations had raised concerns that they still face the challenge of accessing information at some public institutions.
And as well, the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Fire Service, they've also refused to give us the information, even though the Commission ruled that the information should be given to us. So those are a few of the challenges that we faced. Aside that, like I said, the presidency also refused to take our information onto our request on 2 occasions. And we have had to now change the address to the chief director before they pick the request. So, to think that this is the presidency, it speaks much about the non-seriousness that attached to the law that we stick to implement.
What do you think will cause entities like this to reject to give you information that you're asking for? What do you think might be the main problem?
Well, I think that it has to do with our culture of opaqueness, particularly in the public service.
Executive Secretary for the Commission, Yao Sapon-Boateng, provided some answers.
We have to understand that no public institution is exempt from the application of this act. All right? So you cannot say exempt institutions should be sensitized. No, there are no exempt institutions. It is the information that may be required that may be exempt from disclosure. So national security is not exempt. Ministry of Defense, the services, the security services, they are not exempt. But depending on the particular information at a time, that information may be withheld from disclosure because it has the tendency of prejudicing some activity that they are yet to embark on.
Liz Hayfron is the Deputy Board Chair of the Right to Information Commission.
Don't desist from cultivating your sources, but just make sure that the sources that you're cultivating are credible and that they are protected, because if you end up giving out false information or exempt.
We'll take another break. We'll be back with the latest in business. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. And in business tonight, the International Monetary Fund has reiterated that Ghana's public debt increased from 65% to 80% of gross domestic product during the COVID-19 period. Ghana is poised to begin talks with domestic bondholders on restructuring of its local currency debt today.
This is part of the nation's plan to secure a $3 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund. According to Bloomberg, the country's Eurobond extended its decline in trading. One of the key requirements from a fund program is for the nation to restructure its debt. Banks and pension funds that are among the country's biggest debt investors are preparing to engage in discussion on the debt restructuring. In an IMF frequently asked questions session, the fund said at the same time the government's fiscal efforts to preserve debt sustainability were not seen as sufficient by investors, leading to credit rating downgrade, non-resident investors' exit from the domestic bond market, and loss of access to international capital markets. These adverse developments, further exacerbated by the price and supply chain shocks from the war in Ukraine, have led to a large exchange rate depreciation, a surge in inflation, and pressure on foreign exchange reserves in the past months. In this context, the government has requested assistance from the IMF. The IMF recently disclosed that Ghana can only carry out its debt restructuring program after the World Bank and IMF complete its assessment on Ghana's debt situation through the Debt Sustainability Report. This was after it asked government to present a proposal on how it intends to restructure the country's rising debt stock. Some financial observations have warned that debt restructuring may come with some shocks on the economy going forward.
Now, the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana have commenced discussions with the International Monetary Fund for an IMF-supported program. Let's go on to our video wall to see the outcome of the meeting today, which has been published by the Ministry of Finance. And it says, a key prerequisite for the program is confirmation that Ghana's debt is on a sustainable path. This will require comprehensive debt sustainability analysis, which is currently ongoing. 2, the government of Ghana is putting together a comprehensive post-COVID-19 economic program which will form the basis for the IMF negotiations. Government negotiations with respect to the IMF supported program is commencing this week, and we are optimistic about making progress in our discussions. Government remains committed and shall continue to actively engage all stakeholders, both public and private, in a clear and transparent manner as we seek to fast-track this process. Right, and we're trying to get an expert to comment on this particular subject. But in the meantime, Commissioner of Insurance, Dr. Justice Ofori, has admonished developing countries to embrace the idea of insurance to secure their future. He spoke at an ongoing conference in Accra, which seeks to help developing countries, including Ghana, bridge the insurance gap and become competitive on the global market.
Sideline of the International Education Conference of the Association of Insurers of Developing Countries Commissioner of Insurance, Dr. Justice Ofori, encouraged Ghanaian insurance brokers to take advantage of the initiative as it will strengthen their influence on the global market.
There's a limit to what everybody can do. Insurance is one of the key areas of financing risk, and insurance is global. The Ghanaian insurance companies alone cannot actually insure Ghana 100%. And you don't put all your baskets in one basket. Even if we could, it's not good to actually decide to do everything locally. You need to spread your risk so that when there's a claim, it doesn't affect the economy too much. So you have other insurance companies in different jurisdictions playing part in the sharing of the risk. So when there's a claim, you call on them to pay their portion. So in that way, you don't feel the impact. So despite the fact that insurance is global, we want to have a chunk, a larger share of the premiums to stay here. We have to balance it so that one claim cannot actually cripple the economy.
Dr. Justice Ofori added that COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war has crippled the already struggling insurance industry in Ghana and other developing parts of the world, which has further widened the insurance gap with the Western world.
It's not the popularity of insurance cannot be done through this conference. It should be done locally, from the regulator and the regulated entities, that is the insurance companies, would have to be doing the right thing, sell right, and pay claims right. And if something goes wrong, you need a strong regulator to come in to actually crack the whip. So it's not only the conference. This conference is more about bringing practicing firms together than the masses. Basically, they are going to discuss how to actually deal with turbulence, like what we had from the pandemic. Currently, we're hearing of natural disasters all over the world. How prepared are we? What mechanisms are we going to put in place to actually face such situations? So those are the things that we are going to consider. And then, on top of all, how do we bring ourselves together to have a common front so we can negotiate internationally than going as individual countries.
Insurance penetration in Ghana is at an all-time low, particularly with the emergence of mobile money and other electronic transactions, and this conference will seek to find ways to digitalize the insurance industry to stay competitive.
Let's take you back to our earlier story about Ghana going back to the IMF for a bailout. And joining me via Zoom is the Director of Strategy and Business Operations at Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson. Mr. Jackson, grateful for your time this evening. There are discussions with the IMF on restructuring our debt because we're almost at a debt distress level. What plan do you think and expect government to present to the IMF?
Well, a number of things. Remember that the first challenge we have is that there's lack of confidence in the cedi, and we are broke, which means we're spending far more than we're doing. So we expect the government to be able to say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reduce expenditure, take an act to expenditure, reduce expenditure significantly enough to make an impact. Part of reducing expenditure is tackling the two biggest items on our expenditure list. Number one is salaries. Number two is debt service. These two take over 100% of our salaries. So we're going to expect them to present a plan to say, I'm going to cut debt service and I'm going to cut salaries, expenditure on salaries. Now, cutting debt service is obviously the one that has taken front page up as at this moment. And cutting debt service means accepting that I can't pay my creditors as it is and saying, guys, can you help me out? Can you allow me either to reduce the interest rate? Can you allow me to stretch the period of repayment? Or can you allow me to reduce the amount I owe you, the principal I owe you? Or some form of the three. Right. We're expecting that some form of this plan will be presented to the IMF. What actually will be presented, we don't know exactly yet. We do know that they are mooting for domestic debt restructuring, which is what is causing the most distress at the moment, because the commercial banks, the insurance companies, the pension houses, the rural banks, and the like and individuals are all about loaning money to the government and may expect a haircut.
Right. Mr. Joe Jackson, grateful for your time this evening. Here's with Dalex Finance. After the break, Phil John Corte will be here with the latest in sports. Don't go anywhere.
past 19 hours GMT in the Ghanaian capital, Accra. My name is Phil John Corte. With 55 days to the start of the World Cup in Qatar, The local organizing committee for the Mundial says they are ready to welcome the rest of the world.
Secretary General of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, Hassan Al-Tawadi, was in New York on Monday, where he spoke of his country's preparations with just over 60 days to go before the 2022 FIFA World Cup kicks off in Qatar. As the clock kicks down to the start of football's biggest event, Al-Tawadi says Qatar will be representing the whole of the Middle East.
You see, the mood is not only limited to the country. The mood throughout the region, throughout the Arab world, is outstanding. It's astounding. We've always said we're a passionate region for football. But every person, when you talk to, whether they're from Egypt, whether they're from Saudi, UAE, Morocco, feels that this tournament is their tournament. We've always said this is an Arab tournament, this is a Middle Eastern tournament, and you can feel it. I'll give you an example. When we opened up registration for volunteers, we had about over 400,000 people expressing an interest to being volunteers. We've got, right now, we're going to be having 20,000 volunteers. A significant portion of them are coming from, obviously, Qatar and the communities in Qatar, but a significant portion are coming from the Arab world. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Saudi, UAE, Egypt, there's a huge excitement.
The 2022 FIFA World Cup runs from the 20th of November to the 18th of December and features 32 countries. It will be the first World Cup held in the Middle East.
Well, away from that, let's focus on the Black Stars who are preparing to take on from the men from Managua tomorrow in Spain after they were embarrassed by the Brazilians in the first tie on Friday, losing by 3-0. The Black Stars will play the men from Central America, Nicaragua, tomorrow, starting at 18 hours GMT. There you see them as they arrive in Spain. That was on Sunday night as they prepared to take on Nicaragua tomorrow. That is 27th of September as part of their preparations for the World Cup. Like I told you earlier on, they were beaten by the Brazilians by 3-0. And tomorrow, they will likely to make amends against the Nicaraguans, match starting at 18 hours GMT. Well, that's your sports. My name is Phil John Quartier. Up next, Showbiz.
Well, it's time for entertainment news. Now, this year's edition of Global Citizen Festival took place at the Black Star Square in Accra, Ghana, and Central Park in New York City. Now, focusing on the great performances at the Black Star Square, here are a few highlights. But before the highlights, let's see some Twitter reactions from fans.
Here are a few tweets. On September 24, Ghanaians were thrilled with some awesome performances from some Ghanaian artists like Jackie, Sarkodie, Stoneboy, Kwesi Arthur, Yao Tog, and many others at the Global Citizen Festival that happened at the Black Star Square. Ghanaians have expressed their thoughts on the night, and here are a few tweets.
Right, so those were a few tweets from fans on the Global Citizen Festival, but let's take a look at some highlights. My name is Isiodua Akumia. Kenneth?
Thank you very much, Isiodua, for bringing us the latest in entertainment. International news is next.
Medical interns at Uganda's Mubende Hospital have gone on strike, accusing the government of not providing them with appropriate safety kit, risk allowances and health insurance. Earlier today, the Health Ministry said there have been 34 suspected cases and 21 deaths which were probably caused by the Ebola virus. 6 intern medical workers are said to have been exposed to the virus and are currently in isolation awaiting laboratory results. In a statement, all 34 interns, including doctors, pharmacists and nurses, said they would not return to work and want to be evacuated to a facility with safer working conditions. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has announced that the United States committed an additional $457.5 million in civilian security assistance for Ukraine. In Blinken's statement, this package is to enhance the efforts of Ukrainian law enforcement and criminal justice agencies to improve their operational capacity and save lives as they continue to help defend the Ukrainian people. Far-right leader Giorgia Meloni has claimed victory in Italy's election and is on course to become the country's first female prime minister. Meloni is widely expected to form Italy's most right-wing government since World War II. This will alarm much of Europe as Italy is the EU's third biggest economy. However, speaking after the vote, Meloni says her Brothers of Italy party would not betray people's trust.